anyways, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks before they quit dumping my garbage all over my yard and setting it on fire. Every morning I'd wake up to a new surprise. More work for me to do. I was in crutches and I had to go out there and clean the mess. And what did the police do? They just showed up and acted like they did nothing. All they did was patrol the area. They said, maybe you want to stay up all night and see if you can catch them. That's about the best help I got from the Berkeley County Sheriff's Department. Finally, I figured out that they were working for Loree McBride. That they weren't on my side. That she got the police. I thought, boy, this woman's good, man. I thought, she's good. I said, what kind of connections does she have? I told Brett, you need to do something about that girlfriend of yours, man. She's really getting out of hand. I could tell that Brent was not happy about this. He was getting very upset with his girlfriend. I think he agreed with me that she had something to do with this. and finally, but that was very stressful. I was in crutches. My son and I were getting some very severe symptoms from the mobile home. In the hot summer months, we were dizzy. And then on top of all that, my church was against me. The police department was against me. And they were hiring juvenile delinquents to dump my garbage all over my yard and set it on fire. And I had to go out there and clean it up. And then I noticed when the preacher from my church came over, and I was in crutches, when the preacher from my church came over to mow our lawn, he was very snooty towards me. He treated me like I was some mental case and that he was far above me. So I concluded, wow, I said, that girlfriend's got some connection. She put this preacher on my phone, brainwashed this whole church against me. That church was kind of cliquish anyway. Got the Berkeley County Sheriff's Department against me. And then I remember I called up an engineer. I said, I want to order some formaldehyde test kits. He said they cost $600. I said, $600 to get a formaldehyde testing kit? I said, I think I've got extra formaldehyde in my kitchen. I said, it can't cost $600. He said, oh yeah, it costs $600. I said, forget it. I said, isn't there some place where I can get it cheaper than that? He says, I don't know. So I said, my gosh, she says, this woman's really good. She even got the engineer. I looked all around to try to find a formaldehyde testing kit. I think I finally located a source on the internet, but it wasn't easy. And I did use it, and I found out that my kitchen had formaldehyde, a pretty high exposure. But then I concluded, who's going to believe me? So they'll probably think that I made it all up or that I'm not a scientist, so therefore I'm not suffering from formaldehyde exposure in my kitchen. So who's going to believe me? I could tell that somebody was out to get me. And whoever they were good. I figured it was Loree McBride and her friends. I thought, boy, those Hollywood connections she had, man, she's got some powerful friends that they can do this. And I thought, boy, things can't get much worse than this. My son almost flunked 4th grade, but we made it because of illnesses. He almost flunked. Finally, the stitches came off, and after a month I was able to walk. Dr. Costellone took the stitches out for me. He was very upset that that happened to me. He's a nice guy. And in the month of August of 98, I started thinking about studying law. I said, you know what? With all the problems that I've had dealing with police and corruption, I think I want to be a lawyer. I don't think these people, whoever they are going to leave me alone. I started thinking about law. So I found out about, I think it was around November of 98, we found out that our next duty station would be Seattle. So I wrote to the University of Washington Law School and asked for their bulletin. I thought maybe I could study law in Seattle. I decided with all the trouble that I was getting, I might as well become an attorney. Well, guess what? When I decided I told Brent on the phone and Frank O'Neill, I said, I think I want to become a lawyer. That was November of 98. And this year I was also homeschooling my son. 98, 99, he was in 5th grade. Again, my husband went out on a deployment. And I got the most lovely Christmas present for December 25th, 1998. My son was with me. This was a month after I decided I wanted to become an attorney. Apparently somebody didn't like that decision. My son said, Mother, there's a fire outside our kitchen door. It was about a waist-high fire, maybe about 3 feet away. It's like a little bonfire. I said, oh, put it out. So my son got a bucket of water and he put it out. And then there was another fire by the front door. And did you know somebody was setting fires? So then we put the one out by the front door. Then there was another fire by the kitchen door. As soon as we put out a fire by the kitchen door, then there was another fire by the front door. So we were going from one end of the house to the other, putting out fires. I was filling up buckets with water, handing them to my son. And he must have put out about 20 fires. And in between breaks, I said, I'm going to call the police. I said, we got to find who's doing this. So I called the police. And it took them forever to show up. They didn't show up right away. And for 3 hours, Eric and I were running from door to door, putting out fires. I said, good grief, this Loree McBride, man, she's going too far, man. They need to put her in jail. So I'm getting gunk in my throat. 3 hours. It was like a blitzkrieg of fires. One by the front door, one by the kitchen door. They were all by the doors. And we put them all out. Finally, the police showed up, and there were these, black heaps where the fires had been. And the police officer showed up. I was exhausted. I mean, that was stressful. I was afraid. We lived in a mobile home. You know how quick a mobile home can burn down? And it was close to our home. And my son was good. So the police showed up. And I got asked the same question. He said, you must have made somebody awful mad that they'd set all these fires around your house. You know who they are? I said, I had no idea. No way was I going to give away that Brent and Franco were on my phone. And I knew they didn't do it. I figured it was Loree McBride, and I wasn't going to help her one bit. I could tell she was trying to kick Brent and Franco off my phone, and Dr. Castellone, because he was on too. So I said, I don't know. And then he said, well, those fires were only about waist high. We've had a lot worse cases than that in our police department. He said, this really isn't that big of a deal. I looked at that man square in the face and said, who's paying you to do this? He got real huffed up and he said, why, nobody. I said, you're telling me that waist-high fires, we just had a blitzkrieg of fires, and you're telling me that this is not a big deal? Our house could have burned down. He said, we get fire reports like this all the time. I said, who's paying you to do this? He said, nobody, ma'am. And then he kind of left in a hush. I said, you know what? I told that police officer, I want to study to become an attorney. And I can tell by the way you're behaving, there's something fishy about you. And if I was a lawyer, I'd probably drag you into court. And he just kind of left after that. I said, who's paying you, officer, to try to frame me with these questions? I said, you shouldn't treat these fires so flippantly. This could be very serious, officer. And he left after that. He acted real insulted. He said, nobody's paying me to do this. So I told Brent about that incident. My husband came home, I think, the next day, or the day after that. I decided I wouldn't mess with the Berkeley County Sheriff's Department. I could tell that they weren't on my side. They were on the criminal side. My husband came home about 2 days later. You know what happened?